Hey folks, I'm Gene Delasala with Audioholics, and today we have a special guest visiting the Audioholics Showcase room. We have Joey Perfito from Anthem and Paradigm.
How's it going, everybody?
Good to have you here, Joey.
Thank you.
So why are you here today, Joey? Are you trying to sell me something, or what's the deal?
I'm a sales guy. I'm always trying to sell people something.
Okay.
No, I'm here to help Gene set up the new STR Preamp and Amplifier from Anthem. We call it the STR stack, and set up Anthem room correction. So we've been playing with that for the last couple hours.
So for those of you that don't realize, Anthem has their own developed room correction system. They use it. It started out being used in their processors and receivers, like the MRX.
Actually, before that, the D2, I think.
Oh, that's right, the D2, the statement D2. So what you guys have done now is you've taken this awesome room correction technology and now applied it to a 2-channel preamp, which we have here, the STR.
Exactly, and I don't know of any, and there might be, but I don't know of any other 2-channel preamps that have Anthem room correction actually built into it. Usually you have to buy a separate piece to do that. So that's a huge advantage with having an Anthem 2-channel piece.
Well, another thing I really found interesting about this whole Anthem ARC room correction is there's really 3 different ways you could actually set this thing up. You could set it up using USB to the laptop and then USB to the mic, which is kind of a pain if your preamp is far away from your seating area. Or, which I would really like, is the fact that once you plug Ethernet into the STR, you now are on the network, right? And now you just plug the mic directly into your laptop with the software on it, and you do your calibration.
So if your STR is in a basement or in another room, you can still do Anthem room correction without having a long wire from the piece to your laptop. So it's very convenient now.
Right. And then the third way is you could do the mobile app, which I think it's only on Android right now, or is it on?
Mobile ARC is on both Android and on iPhone. The mics on the iPhone are pretty darn good now, and they're very consistent. If you're going to use an Android device, you're probably going to want to use a mic, an external microphone, which these units ship with a mic that take a USB or a mini jack. So,
but the reality is, if you want the best kind of calibration you can get, you really want to use the laptop.
For now, use the laptop. It's Windows, it's PC based only. That's going to change down the road, but you'll be able to do a lot more control as far as manipulating curves and changing room gains, things like that.
I got you. Well, one thing I really like that's cool about this room correction software is there's a lot of adjustability you can do. There's the fact that you could change the high pass slopes for the bass. You could change the shelving of that. You could change at what frequencies the room correction stops. I think it defaults at 5 kilohertz.
5K, yep.
But we've tweaked it in this room, and we found that it actually worked better when we stopped it at around 2K. And you know, there's just a lot of different things. You could actually increase the bass levels. You can increase it a couple of dB above the reference level if you find that you need more bass. So it's a very flexible system.
It is. It is. And you can add a subwoofer to it too. So you can do room correction with a subwoofer, room correction without a subwoofer. But what it does is it really blends everything together in the final conversion.
So in our actual setup, I'm using full range RBH towers, the Status ATs, as you guys know. So there's no need for a sub. I did not use a subwoofer in this case. But I do have subwoofers in this room, and one thing I wanted to talk to you about that really differentiates this product from most of the dedicated 2-channel preamps I've seen is the fact that it has a home theater bypass mode. And what I have configured here, as you can see, I have a rack of equipment here, which is all my home theater equipment, and then I have a rack of my 2-channel equipment, including my turntable. So how I have this hooked up is I have my Yamaha processor plugged directly into the STR, and then the STR plugs directly into the STR power amp. Here's what's really slick about this, guys. When you turn off the STR preamp, it clicks a bunch of relays that goes into that input that's plugged into my Yamaha, and it provides a direct path from the Yamaha preamp down to the power amp, which I'm using to power my front channels. That is super slick. You don't have to have this thing turned on. Some of the preamps I've seen that have the bypass mode, you always have to have this turned on. I think it's really awesome that this differentiates whether or not to send the signal from here or to send the signal from here just by simply having it turned on or off. So I'm really like jacked up about that. I really
Yeah.
enjoy that feature.
Yeah, more and more people are starting to integrate their 2-channel systems into theaters, so it's a great feature to have.
And just for you propeller heads out there that are wondering if there's any loss in doing that, there's no loss. I used the $40,000 HDMI analyzer from Audio Precision to measure every little input and output of this thing, and it's like a straight piece of wire. I mean, it's just flat all the way out to the bandwidth limit of my device, which is about 90 kilohertz. So there's absolutely no loss at all. It looks like we just had a power down because it hasn't been...
Which we can set it to always on, so it never turns off.
Yeah, it went into sleep mode. Anyways, the home theater bypass is a really cool feature. There's some other stuff I think we should talk about. The fact that this will accommodate 32-bit, 192 kilohertz inputs. It's got a USB DAC input, which is really neat. And one thing that I found is unique about it is it has a balanced digital input as well, which you don't find in a lot of preamps.
And to clarify something Gene said, this actually upconverts anything going in 232, 192. So
right.
That's a big deal there.
And I spent a couple of weeks just measuring all of this equipment, the preamp and the power amp. I'm going to do a separate video to show you guys the measurements. I'll just say, just to sum it up, everything is pretty much state of the art. This preamp has incredibly low distortion. I've been able to verify virtually every spec that Anthem put, both in the preamp and in the power amp. And the fact that you have this array, how many different inputs can you configure?
I think it's up to 20 different inputs that you can create. And you can have some inputs that are exactly the same, and one is room correction on and one's room correction off. Or let's say that you have curtains in a big window bay, and you only and you want to do room correction when the curtains are open. You can also do room correction for when the curtains are closed. So there's a number of different ways you can set these different profiles up. Very flexible.
And that's very useful when you're trying to compare different sources as well. There's different input levels you can configure for each source in case one source is louder than the other. So it's like, you guys thought of every little thing. There's bass management in here, which you don't typically get in a preamp, and I measured the bass management, and the bass management is spot on, as you would expect from a very good home theater preamp. Obviously, you guys have expertise in doing preamps now that you've had a multitude of them over the years.
Yep, and then also we have analog. We can increase the analog levels per input as well. So if you have an RCA versus a moving magnet, usually the RCA is going to be a little higher, so you can boost up the moving magnet level input as well. Gotcha.
Well, while we're talking about moving magnet and turntables in general, one thing that also differentiates this product is the fact that not only do you have the standard RIAA curve for phono, but you guys have like I think seven or eight custom curves depending on the kind of vinyl you're listening to, from what year it's been printed, and all that stuff. So, and I measured those as well, and I'll show you the response graphs of those. So I think it's just really cool. What is the retail on this? Is about what?
Retail is $4,000, made in Canada, as well as the amplifier. That's $6,000, also made in Canada, and this engineered and made in Canada. We call it crafted in Canada.
Yeah, the build quality is excellent on this stuff. It looks aesthetically great together. It also comes in black and silver. I prefer the black because all my equipment is pretty much black, so that's why I requested this for our review samples. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about the power amp. One thing that's really neat about this power amp, as you can see down here, it has this little TFT display with these power meters. There's so much to talk about with that. The power meters can be configured for 8 ohm, 4 ohm, or 2 ohm loads, so it'll correctly show you the power that you're dissipating on your speaker depending on the load you're driving. I spent a lot of time bench testing this thing. I think it's rated at 400 watts into 8 ohms, 600 watts into 4 ohms. I actually measured 700 watts into 4 ohms with both channels driven at less than 1% distortion. And it's stable down to 2 ohms. And basically the cool thing about this amp, how they're getting so much power in a small box, is they're taking 2 sets of output rails or 2 sets of output heat sinks, and they're bridging the 2 amps together to get more power. And I think there's about 16 output devices per channel, a huge toroid in there. I think there's 2 toroids in there. And so it's kind of like a monoblock construction in a single chassis. And again, I'll show you the measurements on that in a separate video. We've been driving my Status AT speakers in here for a couple of weeks now, and these speakers are not an easy load. They dip down to 2 ohms in the bass region, and we're in a 6,000 cubic foot room. And I've been blasting these things at reference level. I've watched the temperature gauges go up to about 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and it was never a problem with this amp. It never shut off, never heard any distortions or anything like that. Just very clean sounding unit like you'd expect to get from the very best of Anthem. So I guess what I would ask you is, how do you rank this amplifier in the Anthem line? Is this the very best amp that Anthem is making right now?
This is the very best, and we have 4 or 5 different amplifier levels, and by far this is the best one. This is based off the P2 statement series, and we just added a lot more to it to make it the very best that we have right now.
Gotcha. So I guess we should have asked this at the beginning of the video. Why did you guys come up with this line of product? Was it addressing a certain market that's becoming more popular these days?
Yeah, what we're seeing today is, and I'm sure a lot of you see it as well, that people want to listen to music on speakers more than they do on earbuds. I mean, it's slowly going trending that way, and we wanted to offer a product that is the best on the market for the price. The other thing is, we want to go back to the roots of where Anthem came from. If you remember back in the 80s and early 90s, there was a company called Sonic Frontiers, and Anthem was the entry-level brand or series within Sonic Frontiers. Paradigm actually bought Sonic Frontiers in 1998 and kept the Anthem name. So we're just going back to our roots of 2-channel, and also because we're seeing a rise in 2-channel systems again.
Yeah, it's great to see a rebirth in that, because man, if you really want to enjoy music, you can't just do it sitting with a pair of earbuds. You want to sit down and focus. Yeah. And when you have something that produces this level of fidelity, it's a pleasure, man. You sit down with a good glass of wine, chill out, spin some vinyl if you want. Yeah. I have an Oppo UDP 205 I have plugged into here as well, so I could do my SACD. You could also plug in a hard drive if you have all your music files on it, and you could stream off that through the USB DAC input. Just endless possibilities of what you can do on this.
Yep. It's a great product. Great value.
Cool. And then guys, if you don't want to take it to this level, they do have the STR integrated.
That's correct. Yep, the STR integrated is $4,500 retail. It has all the same features that the Preamp has as far as inputs, Anthem room correction, the home theater bypass, the RIA curve. So you're going to find everything in the Preamp that you'll find in the integrated, and it's 200 watts a channel at 8 ohms, so it still has some beef to it.
So basically you're getting half the power, because they don't have 2 bridged amplifiers per channel. They just have 1 amplifier per channel, but it's in a more convenient box.
Yep.
And it's at a better price for people that can't go to that level of separates.
Yep.
So cool. Well, I'm enjoying this. We're going to be doing some more listening. We've done some Anthem arc correction already, and of course Joey's curve is not going to be my final curve, because you guys know how meticulous I am. I'm going to be logging into the system. Okay. I'm going to be measuring it. I'm going to be tweaking it. And I'll do some final listening results I'll include in the next video on these series to let you guys know how that worked. So I think we're good right now. I'm going to be busy with these for a while.
Good. Have fun with them.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you guys coming out here, helping me set this up.
You're welcome.
Well, guys, let us know what you're doing for 2-channel. Are you doing a 2-channel rig in your system, or do you just do home theater? And if you're doing 2-channel, let us know what equipment you're using. If you're looking at possibly stepping up to an Anthem STR series, I'd like to hear your comments. What kind of sources are you spinning? Are you spinning vinyl? You're doing digital? Let us know what you prefer. And guys, until next time, keep listening.